to flex or not flex. And this is the one that I see cited very frequently in individuals that are arguing that it is 100% fine and safe to lift with a rounded back. But there are a couple of problems with this study. None of the subjects in any of those 12 studies actually lifted weight. The studies ranged in the weights that were lifted from something as light as a pin to something only as heavy as 26 pounds. You don't regularly walk into the gym and see somebody deadlifting 26 pounds or squatting 26 pounds. And so I think for that reason, this lacks a lot of external validity.
So all the respect in the world to Zach, I don't disagree. The study that he shared is not a great example of exposing people to both flexion and load to demonstrate that there isn't a ton of risk for those activities. But it's important to point out that I think it's a bit of a straw man to claim that people say that it's perfectly safe or that there's no risk to lifting with a rounded back. Most people who consider themselves movement optimists point out that there is risk. There's short-term risk to almost any physical activity, certainly activities that involve a ton of load. But what's also worth pointing out is the fact that in this whole risk to reward argument, the reward is often a decreased chance of that short-term risk of injury. A parallel example that I use all the time is Achilles ruptures. We have lots of data and have clearly mapped out the mechanism for injury as it relates to Achilles ruptures. But if you go to a video of somebody doing plyometrics or backpedaling, you won't often see a chain of comments of people fear-mongering or pointing out the risk of Achilles tears for those activities. We understand that there is some sort of risk, but if you apply sensible progressions, there's no more risk with that activity than there is any other intense physical exercise. So in short, this is probably not the best study to use to wave around and justify movement optimism. However, we can still be aware of people's latent fears and how easy it is to stoke those fears and push them towards avoidance. We should help people navigate through that very real short-term risk so they can get to those long-term benefits, as opposed to the all too common belief that avoidance is their savior.